I am standing in the bathroom at our company party, and my CEO just locked the door behind us. The sound of the lock clicking is way too loud. She is between me and the only way out. The bright lights buzz over our heads. The air smells like soap and expensive perfume. She looks straight at me, calm and serious. "This is our secret," she says. My heart is beating so hard I feel it in my throat. I am sure she can hear it. I have no idea what is about to happen. To understand how I ended up here, alone in a bathroom with my CEO, I have to go back 8 months. Back then, I had a plan. I was going to marry Rachel in the spring. We had picked invitations with little blue flowers. I worked at Nexus Tech Solutions in Seattle as a junior data analyst. It was not a dream job, but it was stable. I thought my life was simple and set. Then I came home one Wednesday and half the apartment was empty. Rachel's clothes were gone. Her books were gone. Her half of the dishes and pans were gone. The closet looked like someone had cut it in half. There was a note on the counter next to the coffee maker. The engagement ring I bought for her sat beside it. I had worked extra hours for 6 months to pay for that ring. My hands shook as I read. She wrote that she had met someone else, someone who made more money, someone who could give her a better life. She said she was sorry, but she was leaving. She also took $3,000 from our joint savings. That was half of everything we had. 3 days later, my landlord knocked on the door. He said the rent was going up by $350 starting next month. He said it like it was normal, like it did not mean I might lose the place. After he left, I sat down with a notebook and did the math. My paycheck after taxes was about $2,400 every 2 weeks. Rent would be $1,450 a month. Car payment, $280. Car insurance, $150. Phone, $75. Electric and internet together around $120. Student loans, $300 a month. I still had a credit card bill that never seemed to move. When I added it up, there was maybe $400 left for food, gas, and everything else for the whole month. So I started cutting. Breakfast became black coffee. No eggs, no toast. Lunch was instant ramen in my car. Sometimes I skipped it. Dinner was whatever I could find cheap at the gas station near my apartment. Old hot dogs, bags of chips. Some nights I just drank water and tried to sleep. I took every overtime shift they offered. 10-hour days. Sometimes 12. Then I went home and lay in the dark doing more math. If I paid the electric bill late, there was a fee. If I let the credit card go late, the interest would jump. Student loans did not care about my pain at all. Sleep stopped being sleep. It was little pieces of rest, 2 hours here, 3 hours there. I woke up at 2 in the morning thinking about bills. Which one could I skip? Which company would cut me off first? My coworkers started asking if I was okay. "You look tired, man," they said. "I'm good, just busy," I always answered. It was a lie, but it was easier than telling the truth. The truth was that I was one missed paycheck away from having nowhere to live. My work started to fall apart. I had always been solid, clean reports, strong numbers. My old manager had once called me his most reliable analyst, but now I was making mistakes, small ones at first. I mixed up figures in a spreadsheet. I missed a detail in a client report. Once I fell asleep at my desk and missed a deadline completely, my performance review changed. There were notes like, "needs to improve attention to detail," and, quote, "should work on time management." I knew what that meant. It meant they were watching me. It meant I was getting close to being the kind of person they let go. One afternoon, my boss, Mr. Peterson, called me into his office. "Is everything okay at home?" he asked. "Yeah." "Fine," I lied. He looked like he wanted to ask more, but he didn't. He just sighed and told me I had to tighten things up. Then the email went out to the whole company. Subject line, leadership change. We had a new CEO. Her name was Victoria Chun. The email said she came from a huge firm where she had improved efficiency and streamlined staff. People in the break room said it a different way. I heard she fired 30% of the staff at her last company. She does not give second chances. If your numbers are off, you are gone. Every word felt like a punch. My numbers were off. I was late. I was tired. I was exactly the kind of person a new CEO would cut to prove she was serious. Her first month was like living under a storm cloud. She cut 7 people from marketing in one morning. Security walked them out before lunch. She merged 2 teams in operations, and 8 more people vanished. Consultants walked around asking sharp questions with tablets in their hands. What does your team do that no one else here does? How do you prove your value? No one laughed in the office anymore. People came in early and stayed late. We were all trying to look useful. I was trying not to shake. At lunch breaks, I sat in my car with my ramen and updated my resume. I scrolled job postings that had hundreds of applicants. Every listing wanted skills and degrees I did not have. Every time I checked, my chest got tight. I looked up unemployment numbers too. If I got fired, I might get about $1,200 a month for a little while. That would not even cover rent. I would last maybe 2 months, 3 if I ate almost nothing. Then I would have to move back to my parents' house 3 states away and admit I had failed. Then the company holiday gala invitation hit my inbox. All team members are strongly encouraged to attend. In company language, that meant you had to be there. If you skipped it, someone would remember. So I went. I wore my best blue shirt, the one without stains. I took the bus because parking near the hotel cost $40, and I did not have $40 to spare. The ballroom was huge. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling. The room smelled like fancy food and cologne. People in nice clothes held glasses of champagne and smiled like they did not have a care in the world. I grabbed a plate of small sandwiches and stood near the back. My coworker Derek waved me over. He was with a group from other departments. They were laughing about vacation plans. Derek was taking his family to Florida. Someone else was going on a cruise. What about you? They asked me. Any big plans for the holidays? Just relaxing at home, I said. That was code for I cannot afford to go anywhere. Right then my phone buzzed. Bank alert. My stomach dropped even before I opened it. Insufficient funds for upcoming automatic payment. My rent. The payment was set to pull in 2 days. There was not enough money to cover it. I would be charged a fee. My landlord would see the failed payment. My hands began to shake. I shoved the phone back in my pocket and tried to breathe. For months, I had been moving money around, making tiny payments, hoping something would magically fix this. Nothing had. I was out of tricks. I lifted my head, trying to focus on what Derek was saying, and saw her across the room. Victoria Chun. Our CEO stood in a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her dark hair was smooth and perfect. She was talking to someone, but her eyes were on me. It felt like she could see straight inside my head. I looked away fast. I waited until Derek and the others turned to talk to someone else. Then I stepped back. 1 step, then another. My plan was simple. Get to the door. Get out. Go home and figure out how to survive. I was 3 steps from the exit when a voice spoke right next to me. Leaving already? I froze. Victoria was standing there, closer than I thought someone that important would ever be to me. Arms crossed, head slightly tilted, her eyes sharp and focused on my face. I have something I need to take care of, I said. My voice sounded thin. Something urgent? She asked. Her tone was calm. I could not read it. Yes. A family matter. I lied. She studied me in silence. The music and laughter in the ballroom faded into a blur. I could feel sweat on the back of my neck. We need to talk, she said finally. My stomach dropped. This was it. Now, she added, somewhere private. She turned and started walking. I followed because I did not have a choice. People watched us as we moved through the room. I could almost hear what they would say later. She led me down a hallway where the party noise grew softer. We passed empty conference rooms and closed doors. My heart pounded harder with every step. She stopped at the women's restroom, pushed the door open, and glanced inside. Empty. She looked back at me. Inside, she said. I hesitated. This is the women's bathroom, I said. I know. Get in, she answered. I stepped inside. She followed and closed the door. The lock clicked. The bright lights hummed over our heads. The mirror showed both of us. Me pale and tense, her calm and sure. "This is our secret," she said. And in that moment, standing alone with my CEO in a locked bathroom, I had no idea if my life was about to end or begin. She did not move for a few seconds after she said, "This is our secret." She just leaned against the counter and watched me. I felt like I was under a bright spotlight. "I've been reviewing your file," she said. There it was, the beginning of the end. My mouth went dry. "My file," I repeated. "Your work when you first started here was very good," she said. "The market analysis you did for the Morrison account? 3 board members mentioned it by name in our quarterly review." I blinked. I had no idea anyone that high up had ever seen my work. "Your reports were clean. Your presentations were clear. You have real talent," she went on. "But something changed about 5 months ago." There was no anger in her voice, just focus. Curious and sharp. "Deadlines started to slip," she said. "Mistakes crept into your reports. The same person who used to turn in near-perfect work suddenly looked rushed and tired." My face burned. I looked down at the tile floor. "I'm going through some personal things," I said, "but I'm handling it." "Are you?" she asked, and that question landed harder than anything else, because I've noticed other things too. She counted them off like a list. "You rotate the same 3 shirts every week. You stopped eating lunch with the team. You sit alone in your car. Last Tuesday during the staff meeting, you checked your phone and went pale. You looked like you might be sick." I swallowed. That had been the text from my landlord about starting eviction if I did not pay by Friday. "I've also looked at your salary," Victoria said quietly, "and I've looked at what it costs to live in this city. Rent, groceries, gas, student loans." She paused, her eyes never leaving mine. "The math doesn't work, does it?" Quote. It felt like someone had knocked the air out of my lungs. I tried to straighten up. "I'm managing," I said, but my voice cracked on the last word. "I just need a little more time." "You're not managing," she said. Her voice softened. "You're drowning." The word hit something inside me. Drowning. That was exactly what it felt like. "You come in early and stay late because you can't afford to do anything else," she said. "You live on cheap food and coffee. You're terrified. One more mistake will cost you everything, so you push harder and harder until your body gives out." Tears burned at my eyes. I looked away, focusing on the corner of the mirror so I wouldn't completely lose it. "I'm sorry," I said. "I know my work hasn't been good enough. I'm trying to fix it." "Stop apologizing," Victoria said firmly. I looked back at her, confused. She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It was still strong, but there was something personal in it now. "9 years ago," she said, "I was engaged to someone I thought I would spend my life with." That surprised me. Victoria Chun never talked about her private life. People in the company treated her like she was made of steel and numbers. "We had an apartment picked out. We were planning a wedding," she said. Then I found out he'd been lying. He hid debts from me. He put bills in my name without telling me. He was seeing someone else behind my back. She looked away from the mirror, down at her own hands. "When I left, I walked away with almost nothing," she said. "Except $47,000 of debt I had not created. It was all in my name. And a job at a company that did not care about my problems." My chest felt tight. "What did you do?" I asked. "I worked 3 jobs," she said simply. "My main job during the day, waitressing at night, freelance consulting on weekends. I slept 4 hours a night, if that. I lived on instant noodles and whatever free food I could get at company events." I could see it in my head. Her in a small apartment. Same tired eyes I saw in my own mirror. I sat in meetings smiling, while my brain was doing math about which bill I could skip without losing power or getting kicked out, she said. I kept pushing until my body started to shut down. I ended up in the hospital twice, once because I collapsed from exhaustion, once because my stomach was so damaged from stress I couldn't eat. She looked right at me again. "I almost broke myself trying to climb out," she said. I will never forget how that felt. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. My voice came out small. "Because I see myself in you," she said. "The determination." The pride, the fear that if you admit you're struggling, people will think you're weak. She took a breath. And because I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. I shook my head. I still don't understand, I said. Are you firing me? No, she said. I'm trying to help you. That one word, help, felt unreal coming from her. She reached into the small clutch she'd brought to the party and pulled out a plain manila folder. She held it out to me. Open it, she said. My hands were still shaking as I flipped it open. The first page had a title at the top. Rising Talent Support Initiative. The words blurred for a second. I forced myself to focus. I don't understand, I said. Read the next page, she told me. I turned the page and saw a table with numbers. Salary adjustment. My eyes fell on a new number. I had to read it 3 times. 4,600 every 2 weeks, I said quietly. That's almost double what I make now. It's the proposed pay for people accepted into the program, she said. What program? I asked. She straightened up, like she was presenting to the boardroom, but her eyes stayed on me. 3 months ago, I proposed a new program to the board, she said, for employees who clearly have talent but are struggling because of money or crisis. Not lazy people, not people who don't care, people whose lives are on fire outside of work. My throat tightened at her choice of words. The board approved it last month, she said. We're starting with 3 employees, small, so we can track it. If it works, we expand. I flipped through more pages. Financial counseling, mental health resources, career development plan, emergency assistance fund, relocation help. And you want me to be one of them? I asked slowly. I want you to be the first, she said. The main participant, the one who helps us see what works and what doesn't. You'll be in the program and you'll help me improve it. Why me? I asked. There have to be other people who need this more, people with kids or medical bills. Because you remind me of who I was, Victoria said softly. And because despite everything, you still show up, you still try. Most people would have quit or fallen apart. You haven't, not completely. She tapped the folder. I also need someone good with data, she added. Someone who can measure the impact, track the patterns, and help me prove to the board that this is worth the money. You're good at that. Very good. My mind was spinning. I looked at the emergency fund section. What's this part? I asked. If something unexpected happens, she said, like a car repair or a medical bill, you can access money from the fund. It's not free money. You pay it back, but there's no interest, and the payment timeline is realistic. It's a safety net I never had. There's also relocation assistance, she pointed out. If you want to move to a safer, more stable apartment, we help with the deposit and first month's rent. I thought about my place, the broken heater, the stain on the ceiling that looked like mold, the neighbors yelling at 2 in the morning. I thought about how trapped I felt there. This feels too good to be real, I said. What's the catch? The catch, she said, is that you commit to the program for at least a year. You come to weekly mentorship sessions with me. You give honest feedback. And when you're stable, you help mentor the next group. That's it? I asked. That's it, she said. Oh, and I need to be able to tell your story to the board. No names, just the situation. They need to see. This isn't theory. It's real. I looked down at the folder again, at the new salary number, at the words support and development and stability. For months, everything in my life felt like it was falling apart. Now, suddenly, someone was handing me a ladder. When would this start? I asked. Right away, she said. The paperwork is ready. HR can process it Monday. Your new salary will start with your next paycheck. You were that sure I'd say yes? I asked. For the first time that night, she smiled, a real small smile that reached her eyes. I was sure you were smart enough to recognize help when you saw it, she said. My phone buzzed in my pocket again. Probably another alert from my bank. For the first time in a long time, I did not feel that icy fear shoot through me. I accept, I said. Whatever you need me to do, I'm in. Quote. Good, she said. She stepped closer to the door, hand on the lock, then paused and looked back at me. "One more thing," she said. "What I told you about my past, the debt, the broken engagement, the hospital, that stays between us. I have a certain reputation, and I'd like to keep it." "Of course," I said. "I won't tell anyone." "You can talk about the program," she added. "In fact, I want you to. But my personal story is private." "Understood." "Understood," I said. She unlocked the door and cracked it open, checking the hallway. "Empty. Go home," she said. "You look like you haven't slept in a week. We'll talk details on Monday." I stepped back out into the hallway, the noise of the party washing over me again. Same music. Same lights. Same people laughing with drinks in their hands. But I felt like a different person than the one who had walked into that bathroom. My CEO had just pulled me out of the water when I was sure I was going under. I made it outside into the cold night air and finally let myself breathe. On the bus ride home, I stared out the window, clutching that folder like it might disappear if I blinked. When I got to my apartment, the stack of bills was still on the kitchen counter. Red warnings, final notices, threats in small print. For the first time in 6 months, I looked at them and did not feel pure panic. I sat down on my old couch, the one Rachel left behind, and my chest shook. I cried, not from fear this time, but from relief. Somewhere inside that fancy hotel, my CEO had locked a bathroom door and whispered, "This is our secret." What she really gave me was something I had not felt in a long time. A chance. Monday felt different from the moment I opened my eyes. For the first time in months, I did not wake up with my chest tight and my stomach in knots. I still felt scared, but there was something new under the fear. Hope. At 8 in the morning, an email from HR popped up. Subject line: salary adjustment and program enrollment. My hands shook as I clicked it open. The numbers were there in black and white, the same salary I had seen in the folder with Victoria. $4,600 every 2 weeks. Details about the new program. A meeting time with HR and the CEO that afternoon. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. I wore my best suit to the meeting, the one I had saved for job interviews at other companies. Now I was wearing it to sit with the CEO and HR about a chance to stay. The HR office was on the 3rd floor. When I walked in, Victoria was already there, perfectly put together in a navy blazer and white shirt. The HR director, Patricia, sat beside her. Patricia was in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back and kind eyes like a favorite teacher. "Thanks for coming, Ethan," she said. Her tone was warm. I was not used to people sounding warm when they said my name at work. She walked me through the paperwork. Program enrollment. Salary change. Direct deposit update. I signed my name at the bottom of each form, half afraid the words would disappear if I took too long. "You'll be the first official participant in the Rising Talent Support Initiative," Patricia said. "We'll be adding 2 more people in the coming weeks." Quote. My chest tightened. "So it's really happening," I said. "It's happening," Patricia said, smiling. "We want you to succeed here." Victoria did not say much during the meeting. She sat back, listening, watching. A few times I felt her eyes on me, and each time I looked up, she looked away like she did not want to interrupt the flow. When Patricia left us alone, Victoria stood and walked over to the window. The city spread out below, gray and tall. "The first paycheck with your adjusted salary hits this Friday," she said, not turning around. "I want you to take the weekend off. Fully, no overtime, no logging in from home." I laughed once, unsure. I don't remember how to relax. "Learn," she said. "Go somewhere, see a movie, walk by the water. Do something that reminds you life is more than just paying bills." "Thank you," I said, but it felt too small for what she had done. She looked over her shoulder at me. "Don't thank me yet. This program comes with expectations. You'll meet with me every Tuesday at 7 in the morning. We'll go over your work, your goals, your progress. I don't give out charity. I make investments." She held my gaze. "Make it worth it," she said. I nodded. "I will." The rest of that week felt strange, like I was moving through a different version of my life. Same cubicle, same screen, same coworkers, but the weight on my chest was lighter. On Friday, my paycheck hit. I checked my bank app 3 times to be sure the number was real. It was. I paid my rent in full. I paid off 2 overdue bills and made more than the minimum on my credit card for the first time in months. For the first time since Rachel left, I ordered groceries instead of walking to the gas station. Real food, vegetables, chicken, bread that was not the cheapest thing on the shelf. The next Tuesday, I showed up outside Victoria's office at 6:55 a.m. The floor was quiet. Most lights were still off. I was nervous in a new way now. Not about being fired, but about proving she hadn't made a mistake. Her door was half open. I knocked. "Come in," she said. She was at her desk, with 2 cups of coffee beside her keyboard. She slid one toward the edge of the desk when I sat down across from her. "I remember you stopped buying coffee to save money," she said. "I brought you one." It was such a small thing, but it hit me hard. Someone had noticed. Someone had cared enough to do something about it. "Thank you," I said, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. The meetings became a new routine, every Tuesday at 7. Some weeks were rough. She did not go easy on me, just because I was in the program. She tore apart my slides, pointed out holes in my analysis, made me run numbers a second time. "You're better than this," she would say. "Don't hand me work where you played it safe." But she also taught me things nobody else had ever explained. She taught me how to read the company's financial reports like a story, how to see patterns others missed, how to think like someone sitting in a boardroom, not just behind a desk. She pushed me to speak up in meetings, to defend my ideas, to stop apologizing for having opinions. One morning, she drew a rough ladder on the whiteboard in her office. "This is your career path if you just let things happen to you," she said. "Slow, random, based on luck." Then she drew another ladder. This one had steps labeled with skills and projects. "This is your path if you decide to build it on purpose," she said. "Which one do you want?" "The second one," I said. "Good," she said. "Because I don't have time to waste on people who pick the first." In February, 2 more people joined the program. Marcus from operations, who had been missing time because his daughter was going through cancer treatments. Sophia from client services, who had left an abusive marriage and was trying to rebuild her life when her ex drained their joint account. I met each of them for coffee. I told them just enough of my story so they knew I understood the feeling of staring at bills and wanting to disappear. "You're not broken," I told them. "You're just carrying too much." This program is a way to share the load. Watching them get their first adjusted paychecks, seeing the relief on their faces, made something warm move in my chest. This was bigger than me now. This was changing lives. The weeks turned into months. By March, the program had 15 people. By May, there were 32. The company started noticing that the people in the program were not just doing better, they were doing great. Their work improved. Their loyalty increased. Turnover dropped. Other executives started asking, "How are you doing this?" Quote, Victoria wanted proof, charts, graphs, real data to show the board and investors, so we built it together. We tracked performance before and after enrollment. We measured error rates, project completion times, retention. I spent late nights building dashboards and visuals, and for once, I did not mind the extra hours. This was not fear work. This was purpose work. One day, after reviewing the latest numbers with me, Victoria sat back in her chair. "They won't be able to argue with this," she said. "They like to pretend compassion is soft. These results show it's smart." She looked proud, not just of the program, but of me too. The way her eyes stayed on my face made my stomach flip in a way that had nothing to do with stress. By the end of March, she told me I would be presenting our findings to the executive team. "Me?" I asked, in front of all of them. Quote, "Yes, you," she said. "You helped build this. You should be the one to explain it." I spent 2 weeks working on the presentation. I practiced in my apartment, talking to my couch like it was full of executives in suits. I rehearsed in empty conference rooms. Victoria went over every slide, pushing me to make the story tighter and clearer. The night before the presentation, when I was sitting at my kitchen table going over notes one last time, my phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "You've got this." 3 words. Simple, but I read them over and over. She was still my boss, still the woman everyone feared, still the CEO who could change my life with a single decision. But somewhere between the bathroom at the party and that late-night text, something else had grown between us. Trust, respect, and something quieter, more dangerous that I was afraid to name. The next morning, as I stood at the front of the big conference room with all the executives watching me, I caught her eye. She gave the smallest nod. I took a breath, steady and full. Then I started to speak. In that moment, I realized something. 8 months ago, I was hiding in my car eating ramen, scared of being seen. Now I was standing at the front of the room, telling a story that could change the whole company. And a big part of that was because one night, at a party, my CEO had looked at me and decided I was worth saving. The presentation went better than I ever imagined. When I finished, the room was quiet for a second. Then the head of finance asked a question. Then another executive asked for a copy of my charts. Someone else said the results were, quote, impressive and promising. They talked numbers, retention rates, cost savings. They liked it. When the meeting ended, people came up to shake my hand. Some of them finally used my name for the first time. "Good work, Ethan," they said. Victoria waited until everyone cleared out. Then she walked over, hands in her pockets. "Well done," she said simply, but there was warmth in her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you," I said. "I didn't teach you how to care about people," she replied. "You already had that. I just gave you better tools." Weeks passed. The program kept growing. More employees joined. More lives settled down instead of falling apart. My Tuesday mornings with Victoria became the anchor of my week. We still talked about work, but it wasn't just numbers and projects anymore. Sometimes, when we finished early, the conversation drifted. She told me about her first tiny apartment in New York, with 4 roommates and a broken radiator that blasted heat in the middle of summer. She told me about crying in a grocery store aisle once because she could not afford both medicine and food. I told her about my family, about my younger brother who called me for advice, about my parents who thought anyone with an office job had made it and had no idea how close I had been to losing everything. The more I learned about her, the more the hard edges of her image softened. She was still strong, still sharp. But under the steel, there was a person who knew real pain and did not want others to go through it alone. One Saturday in early spring, I got a text from her. Coffee? Not work. Just life. She sent the name of a small cafe across town, far from the office. I stared at the message for a long second. My heart sped up in a way that had nothing to do with stress. I typed back. Sure. The cafe was small, with plants in the windows and mismatched chairs. No one there knew who she was. To them, she was just a woman in jeans and a simple sweater, hair pulled back, laptop closed on the table. We talked for 3 hours. We talked about music, about shows we liked, about how we both hated networking events where everyone acted fake. We talked about nights when we almost gave up, the people who had helped us keep going, the ones who had hurt us most. At one point she said, "I built walls I thought would keep me safe. Turns out they just kept me alone." I felt that in my bones. "I did the same thing," I said. "After Rachel left, I decided love was just a risk I couldn't afford, so I stopped trying." She looked at me then, really looked, and for a moment the air between us felt charged, like something important was about to happen. When we left, she walked beside me to the corner. A car passed, wind tugging at her hair. She reached out and touched my hand, just for a second. It was light, almost nothing, but I felt it all the way to my chest. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Any time," I replied. And I meant it. By summer, the program had 30-plus people. Other companies were calling, asking to learn from us. A business magazine asked to do a feature. They took pictures of Victoria in her office and me in front of a wall of charts. Inside the company, people were talking too. They saw employees who used to be on the edge turn into some of the strongest performers. They saw that when you removed the constant fear of losing everything, people did better work. It was simple and powerful at the same time. One Tuesday in late June, after our regular 7 a.m. meeting, Victoria did something different. She closed her laptop, stood up, and walked over to the door. She locked it. The click sounded very familiar. My pulse picked up. I tried to stay calm. "We need to talk about something that is not in your file," she said. She moved to the window, looking out at the city for a moment before turning back to me. "I've been thinking a lot about lines," she said. "Professional lines, boundaries, rules that say what is appropriate and what is not." I sat very still. She kept going. "Those rules exist for good reasons," she said. "Power dynamics, protecting people, making sure no one feels pushed or trapped." My heart thumped. I knew where this could be going, and I was both scared and strangely relieved. "But sometimes," she said softly, "those rules also stop us from being honest." I swallowed. "Honest about what?" She looked right at me. "I'm attracted to you," she said. "No hesitation, no games, just truth. I have been for months. I've been telling myself it's inappropriate, that I should ignore it, that I'm your boss and it would be messy. But ignoring it hasn't made it go away." My chest tightened. I had imagined this moment, then told myself I was crazy for even thinking it. "I feel the same way," I admitted. My voice shook a little. "I've been trying not to. I didn't want you to think I only cared about you because of what you did for me. But every Tuesday, every time you push me to be better, every time you look at me like I matter, it's harder to pretend I don't feel something." A slow smile touched the corner of her mouth, softer than the ones I saw in boardrooms. "This is probably a terrible idea," she said. "Probably the worst," I agreed. "People will think I'm giving you special treatment," she said. "Some might say you only got where you are because of me." "I know," I said. "I don't want that." "I won't let that be the story," she said firmly. "Your work speaks for itself. The program speaks for itself. If this goes anywhere, it has to be with eyes open. No secrets that hurt other people. No bending rules to protect us." "So what do we do?" I asked. "For now," she said, "we keep it private outside of HR. We take it slow. We see if this is real and worth the risk. We make sure it doesn't affect how I judge your work. We make sure you always have a choice." My heart eased a little at that last part. A choice. That mattered. "I want this," I said quietly, "not because you're my CEO, because you're you. Because you pulled me out when I was sinking. Because you care more than you want people to see. Because you make me feel like I can actually become the person I hoped I could be." She stepped closer. I could see the faint lines of tired days around her eyes, the human part everyone else missed. "Come here," she said. When she kissed me, it was not rushed or wild. It was gentle and careful, like she was asking a question and waiting for my answer. I kissed her back, and every fear I had about being unlovable after Rachel leaving, after almost losing everything, cracked a little more. 3 months later, HR figured it out. Patricia called both of us into her office, closed the door, and folded her hands on the desk. "I've been here 20+ years," she said. "I've seen enough to know when two people are trying hard not to act like more than coworkers." My throat went dry, but she held up a hand. "Relax," she said. "The board doesn't forbid executive relationships. They just require disclosure, for legal reasons, for your protection and the company's." We told the truth. We filled out forms. We agreed to guidelines. I would not report directly to her on evaluations. Another executive would review my promotions. We would stay professional at work. By the next morning, the news had spread through the building. Some people were surprised. Others said they saw it coming. A few probably whispered, but most of what I heard was different. They make sense together. Did you hear what that program has done for people? If anyone deserves something good, it's them. In the months that followed, things settled into a new normal. We still met on Tuesdays at 7. We still argued about charts and laughed over coffee. We still pushed each other. But when the office emptied at night, sometimes we would stay a little longer. We would stand by the window in her office, looking out at the lights of the city that almost swallowed both of us once. One night, I said, "Do you ever think about that party? About the bathroom?" She smiled, remembering. "You were white as a sheet," she said. "I could see the fear all over your face." "I thought you were going to fire me," I said. I thought you might say no, she replied. To the program, to help. To me. Outside, the city was buzzing, but in that room it was just us. Two people who had walked through different kinds of storms and somehow ended up under the same roof. What are you thinking about? She asked. I looked at her, at the woman who had once seemed like the scariest person in the building and now felt like home. About how one night you locked a bathroom door and said, "This is our secret," I answered. And how that secret turned into my whole life changing. She took my hand, fingers lacing through mine. It changed mine too, she said. I built this career so I'd never feel powerless again. Then I met you and remembered that power means nothing if you don't use it to lift someone else up. I squeezed her hand. We were not perfect, we argued. We both had scars that did not show on skin. We still had days when old fears tried to drag us back. But I was no longer the guy hiding in his car, eating ramen and waiting for everything to fall apart. I had work that mattered. A company that treated people like human beings. And a woman who saw my worth long before I could see it myself. Our story started in a locked bathroom at a company party, with my CEO saying, "This is our secret." What neither of us knew then was that the real secret was this. When someone truly sees you, believes in you, and chooses you even at your lowest, it can save more than just your job. It can save your heart,